Namaste and welcome to Flow and Restore Yoga. My name is Michelle Chua. For today's hip opening centered, at least for the physical part of the practice, you'll want to have two blocks, a strap, a bolster, and a blanket. Let's begin in some version of externally rotating the thighs at the hips or turning out the thighs. So you may like to sit up on one of your props to get comfortable. And as you're opening the thighs apart, play with how close together your shins cross, because that can really make a difference too. If you're feeling really tight, you might find it more helpful to have the shins closer together. And if your knees are lifting uncomfortably away from the ground, say like this, you might want to sit on something even higher so that your pelvis is higher than your knees and it allows your knees to drop more easily. So I've been listening to some guided meditations and teachings from a meditation and spiritual teacher locally here in Los Angeles. His name is Michael Beckwith. And I want to share just a recap of his focus on anxiety, because we've been actually talking about mindfulness attitudes to counteract anxiety in the past few classes. So he says that worrying is emotionally praying for what you don't want. I love that perspective on it. Emotionally praying for what you don't want. And he says that instead of investing your creative power, such as your mind and what you're focusing on, into worrying about the worst case scenario, try shifting your perspective and actually entertain the best case scenario. And this is going to be a focus in our guided meditation practice in the end. And he also says to put your energy into, well, I just said that. He defines fear as simply an energy, such as happiness is also an energy, right? And we can learn how to work with fear rather than letting it paralyze us or trying to ignore it or whatever. And we can channel fear as an energy. Oftentimes, he mentions that fear arises when the ego is trying to protect itself from going into the unknown, from having to step outside of its familiar paradigm. And so when you let yourself move towards what you're fearing, when you're going into the unknown in whatever realm of your life, notice how the fear is energy. And when you allow yourself to go towards it and step towards the unknown, you can actually work with the energy of fear and shift it into excitement. Have you ever been in that place when there's a new chapter arising in your life and there's a lot of worry or fear about it, and you, instead of turning around and forgetting about entering the new chapter, you go with that fear and it starts to adjust into fuel towards inspired action. And it's energy that can shift, because oftentimes this fear of the unknown is your calling to grow into another level of your self-expression as a soul, as your inner being, as your infinite self. So that's an interesting perspective, that fear being a calling to grow into your next level of self-expression. Let's begin the practice physically, and then we'll tune in deeper into our minds after. So as you're sitting tall, maybe close the eyes and begin to scan your physical body, noticing whatever sensations are happening right now. Sense the quality of the breath just as it is. Noticing how you're feeling energetically. Bring awareness to your mind and to anything you're feeling right now emotionally. What feels predominant in your focus at this moment? Or in the last few moments leading up to now? Let in a deeper breath through the nose. Exhale slowly through the mouth. Inhale a little bit slower. Maybe find a pause at the top for a few seconds. Then exhale just as slowly through the mouth, and maybe pause at the bottom for a few seconds. As you continue to lengthen your breath, call to mind something in this moment that you appreciate. You might even take into account everything that had to come together for you to be able to be in your practice of yoga right now. And start to clarify your intention for today. What quality about yourself would you like to strengthen by focusing on it? And as we broaden our perspective by stepping outside of the ego mind, I invite you to choose somebody to dedicate your practice to today, a way of sending them loving kindness or support. Let's set our intentions and dedications together while creating resonance as we share the practice by chanting Om 3 times. Let's begin practicing Ujjayi Pranayama, or victorious breath, a way to calm, focus, and balance the mind, body, and energy. It's done by closing your lips and softly narrowing the back of your throat. Listen to a gentle whispering sound as you lengthen your breath evenly in and out to your nose. Taking your time to find both ends of each breath. Let this sound serve as an anchor to help focus your attention in the present moment. To keep it going, take a look at the way you're sitting, and I invite you to switch the cross of your shin, that's forward or on top. And let's begin some movement into the pelvic and lower back region as we focus on the hips today. So sit tall, relax the shoulders, and let's begin to circle the spine slowly, breathing into one side, shifting forward towards your pubic bone, breathing out to the other side, and shifting back towards your tailbone. Try a couple more circles, slow and mindfully, and then switch directions. Paying attention to any subtle sensations you might be feeling right now around your outer hips and thighs, your groins and your inner thighs. And then let's make our way onto all fours, hands and knees, beginning to move in cat-cow. So set up your hands flat on the floor at the top of your mat and stack your shoulders above your wrists. Step your knees back a couple of inches behind your hips. And as you inhale, glide your chest forward and slowly coil it up. As you exhale, contract your abdomen, dropping the head, round your back. Take several more rounds of cat-cow or Betalasana on your own, really slowly, listening to your breath. Feel that your thumbs are stretching flat towards each other and your index fingers are stretching straight ahead. So they're parallel to each other or even slightly turned out. At the bottom of your next exhalation, tuck your toes and lift your hips back, entering downward facing dog. Spend a few breaths there, moving in any way you need to loosen your body. You might swivel your hips left and right like you're dancing the twist as you pedal your feet in place, which helps to open up the outer hips. You might feel it in the glutes and the sides of the waist. Let your head hang freely, maybe shake and nod it a few times, and let your hands feel energetically grounding. Palms flat, shoulders rising back, creating space in the neck. In downward facing dog, step the feet together to touch. Inhale, raise your right leg behind you. As you exhale, bend your right knee and externally rotate the thigh at the hip, turning it out. Take another inhale and tack your left outer hip back. Evenly lengthen through both arms, relax the neck. And then exhale, cross your right ankle above your left knee as you flex your right foot, creating a figure four shape in downward dog. Keep using your hands to actively press the ground away as you lift your hips up and back. Relax your jaw, relax your eyes, tune into 3 more deep breaths. I know this is warming for your shoulders as well. Use the right ankle pressing against the left thigh to help splay the right thigh gently open. Inhale fully. And as you exhale, bend your right knee to touch high outside your right shoulder or upper arm in plank. And then softly step the foot forward on the right side of your right hand. Lower your left knee to the ground and either have your hands on the floor or prop your hands on blocks as we prepare to flow in and out of lizard lunge. Breathing in here, draw your right outer hip back and look up, relax the shoulders down. Keep your feet where they are. Exhale into a wide pyramid pose, lifting the left knee, draw the right hip further back to straighten the leg to your degree and bow inside of your right shin. Let's keep flowing through this 4 more cycles of breath. Inhale, lower the left knee, look up. Exhale, straighten the legs and bow. And remember, they don't need to be all the way straight, and just find what's not strenuous for you. Inhale, kneeling lunge. Exhale, wide pyramid pose. Inhale, kneeling lunge. Exhale, wide pyramid pose. Last round, breathe in. And breathe out. Now walk the right foot front and center between your hands. Spin the left heel down, entering warrior 2. Cartwheel the arms to rise up and align your right heel to intersect the arch of your left foot. Splay your right thigh open by rotating your outer hip underneath you until your right kneecap points towards your right pinky toe. While at the same time, firm the top of your left thigh bone back, encouraging your pelvic bowl to be upright as you stack your shoulders right above your hips. Let's flow in and out of warrior 2 in a couple more postures. Keep the right knee bent, lift your spine a little taller, and flip the right palm to face up. Inhale, side bend towards your rear wall in peaceful warrior, gently landing left hand on left shin. Exhale, warrior 2, glide the pelvis towards the rear wall and press the right forearm on the right thigh. Sweep the left arm overhead towards the front wall. Extended side angle. 4 more cycles of breath. Inhale, rise, peaceful warrior. Exhale, lean forward, extended side angle. Inhale, peaceful warrior. Exhale, extended side angle. Couple more. Inhale, peaceful warrior. Exhale, extended side angle. Inhale, peaceful warrior. Exhale, extended side angle. Now straighten your legs. Let's prepare for triangle pose, in which we'll hold for 5 breaths. Glide your hips sideways towards your rear wall. Lengthen your torso towards your front wall. Plant your right fingertips lightly on your right shin, or just to the right of your shin on a block of the floor. While raising your left arm up, spin your chest slightly to face the sky. Tack your right hip crease back towards your left outer heel, and slide your shoulder blades down your back. Tune into about 5 more breaths as you steady your gaze on one spot. On an exhale, cartwheel your hands to frame your right ankle and step to plank pose. Pause in plank as you breathe in, lift through the belly, lengthen forward through the spine. As you exhale, shift forward and bend your elbows 90 degrees to hug your side ribs, Chaturanga Dandasana. Then lower all the way to the floor, root down to the tops of your feet, hug the elbows to your ribs, and breathe in to coil your chest lightly off the ground. Cobra. Tuck the toes, engage the belly. Exhale to plank pose. Then lift your hips, downward facing dog. Step the feet together to touch. Listen to a full cycle of breath. Inhale, raise your left leg behind you. Exhale, bend the knee and externally rotate your left thigh at the hip. Staying here, inhale, tack your right outer hip back. Then flex the left foot and exhale, cross your left ankle above your right knee, entering a figure 4 shape. Press away the ground with your hands and lift your hips up and back as you firm in your belly. Soften your neck. 3 more breaths here. Splaying your left thigh further open. Deep inhale. As you exhale, tap your left knee high outside your left shoulder or upper arm in plank. Gently step the foot on the left side of your left hand and lower your right knee into lizard lunge. Feel free to grab your blocks and prop your hands up on them if that's helpful. Getting ready for the flow. So inhale in your lizard lunge. Look up, relax the shoulders. Keep the feet where they are. Exhale to a wide pyramid pose. Lift the right knee, draw the left hip back towards straightening the leg, and bow inside of your left leg. Inhale, lower the right knee, lunge. Exhale, lift the right knee, pyramid. 4 more cycles of breath. Inhale. Exhale, pyramid. Inhale, lizard lunge. Exhale, pyramid. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Now return to a high lunge and step the left foot between your hands. Spin the right heel down. Align left heel to arch of right foot. Then cartwheel your arms and rise to warrior 2. Wrap your left sitting bone under you and splay your left knee open towards your left pinky toe while firming the top of your right thigh bone back. Stack your shoulders right over your hips and keep your left knee bent. Spin the left palm to face up. Inhale, peaceful warrior. Lift your spine and side bend towards your rear wall. Gently land the right hand on your right leg. Exhale, extended side angle pose. Glide your hips towards the rear wall. Press the left forearm into your left thigh and sweep the right arm overhead towards the front. 4 more cycles of breath. Inhale, rise, and peaceful warrior. Exhale, extended side angle. Inhale, peaceful warrior. Exhale, extended side angle. Inhale, peaceful. Exhale, extended. Last round. Inhale. Exhale. Now rise up to stand. Let's prepare for triangle. Straighten the left leg and glide your hips sideways towards your rear wall. Lengthen your torso towards your front wall and plant the left fingertips lightly on your left shin or just to the left of it, right under your shoulders stacked. Spin your chest slightly to face the sky. Tack the crease of your left hip back towards your right outer heel. And send the shoulders down the back. Land your gaze and tune into 4 or 5 more breaths in Trikonasana. Try to make your feet heavier than your left hand. With an exhale, cartwheel your hands into plank pose and pause. Inhale in plank, firm in the belly. Exhale through Chaturanga, finishing your vinyasa. Cobra or upward facing dog as you breathe in. Exhale to downward facing dog. Let's move through a round of sun salutation B. Bend your knees, look forward, and empty the breath. Walk or float to the front of your mat. Inhale, press your hands into your shins, blocks to the floor, and lengthen forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up. Gently coil your chest up into Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, join your hands in prayer at your heart in Padasana. Saluting the sun with gratitude, saluting the source within. Let's move to the breath. Come back to your intention and bring that quality into how you're moving your body. Surya Namaskar B. Let your feet touch. Inhale, bend your knees to touch. Sit back into chair, Utkatasana. Exhale, shift your weight forward and hinge from your hips, Uttanasana. Press your hands into your shins, blocks to the floor. Inhale, lengthen to Ardha Uttanasana. Step back to plank and lower through vinyasa or gently float into Chaturanga first. When you arrive in downward facing dog, inhale, raise your right leg behind you. Exhale, step the foot softly beside your right thumb. Spin your left heel down. Inhale, rise to stand in Warrior One. Exhale, lower into your vinyasa. From downward facing dog, inhale, raise your left leg behind you. Exhale, step the foot forward beside your left thumb and lower your right heel. Inhale, rise up into Virabhadrasana 1. Exhale, lower into your vinyasa. Downward facing dog. Let the body be still as you steady your awareness on 3 slow breaths. When you've emptied the third, walk or float to the front of your mat. Feet touching, inhale, lengthen forward. Exhale, fold. Bend your knees. Inhale, chair. We're gonna add a Standing balance here. Figure 4 chair. Turn out the right thigh at the hip and flex your right foot. Cross the ankle over your left thigh and splay the right thigh open. As you engage your lower belly, if possible, sit lower and evenly draw your hips back. Now you could keep the arms overhead, join them in prayer, or lower your fingertips on your blocks. If some of you are itching for an arm balance, there's an opportunity to practice flying single pigeon, where you plant the hands flat, a foot in front of your front foot. Keep the arms parallel and bend the elbows back. Cross the right shin on top of your 2 upper arms and push off of the upper arms as you lean forward, extending the left leg back. Whatever you're practicing, tune into 3 to 4 more breaths. Back to figure 4 chair. Breathe in here. Exhale, rise to stand in Padasana. And tune inward for a moment. It's coming up for you right now in your practice. As you listen to that whisper in your breathing, let your feet touch as you bend the knees. Utkatasana, chair pose. Turn out your left thigh and flex the foot as you cross the ankle over your right thigh. Splay your left thigh open. Firming in the belly, draw your sitting bones evenly back, maybe lower. You might explore the option you played with on the first side. Tune into your breathing as you explore. Last few breaths. Back to figure 4 chair. And exhale, mountain pose. Sense your energy right now. What's present in your mind? Let's make our way down to downward facing dog. Optional to take a vinyasa one last time on your way there, or to step into cat-cow and practice that a few times. We'll meet in Adho Mukha Svanasana. Let's prepare for a yin posture, single pigeon pose. Now, some of you might have some knee issues, and if you start to get into this and your knee's saying, nope, not today, then lie on your back instead and you'll take thread the needle. All right, single pigeon, turn out your right thigh at the hip, cross your right shin in front of your pelvis, lower to sit with your left leg straight behind you, toes tucked. Place your hands alongside your hips and lift your pelvis off the floor so that you can draw the right hip further back, making sure your right knee is pointing to your right wall, not towards your front wall. Now, if you find that your right glute is, there's a space between that and the floor, grab any of your props and fill that gap as comfortably as you can. And then untuck the back toes. If you find that your right shin comfortably parallels the front edge of your mat, then make sure you're flexing your right foot the entire pose to stabilize the knee. And place your hands in front of the shin and lift your chest. Soften the shoulders, breathe in, stretch the front of your torso. And then take your time, breath by breath, begin to bow forward. Now you could use any of your props here to rest your forehead on. You could put a whole pillow in front of you and bear hug it. See what's available so that you're exerting as little effort as possible to be in this posture. We're going to be here for 3 minutes before we switch sides, so get as comfortable as you can, even though there might be some discomfort as things are opening up. Let your breath be your support. Some of you who are looking to add a twist in single pigeon, you could flare your right elbow to the sky, plant your right fingertips on the ground towards the upper right corner of your mat, and then thread the left arm, palm face up, underneath your right bent elbow. Then lower the left side of your head all the way down. You can also place the head on a block or a pillow. Can you let your mind rest on the gently moving sound waves of your breath? Slowly begin to lift your torso upright. If you're lying down, stay lying down. And for the next posture, we're going to continue on the same side of the hips into cow face pose. So if you're lying down, you can also do this lying down by crossing the right thigh even more over the left thigh and holding onto your outer ankles. Otherwise, sitting up, first decide if you'll want to sit up on a prop like a blanket, and then cross your right thigh over your left thigh as much as you can into cow face pose. Now, if this throws you off balance to have both knees bent, then you can straighten the bottom leg forward like this and flex that foot. And once you have your legs set up, your sitting bones equally grounded, then let's bend the elbows apart and we'll take the arms into eagle pose. So cross the left elbow over the right and either hook your thumbs or wrap your forearms and palms. Press the shoulder blades down the back, sit tall, breathe in, and little by little start to hinge forward from your hips for about 10 breaths. Keep lengthening the spine each time you breathe in, grounding your pelvis. Down to your pelvis, breathe in to slowly rise. Uncross the arms and straighten the legs in front. If you're lying down, you can come into happy baby pose or circle the legs together and apart. If you're sitting up, maybe take a moment to circle out your feet, especially if you were flexing your feet earlier. Maybe roll out the shoulders, few deep breaths. You sense your body unwinding from those series of hip-focused postures. You feel good. Now, if you took the reclining version of single pigeon or thread the needle on your back, please do the same for the second side. Otherwise, let's come back to downward facing dog. Sense the breath. Rotate your left thigh externally at the hip and cross your left shin in front of your pelvis. Lower to sit with your right leg straight behind you, toes tucked. With your hands framing your pelvis, lift your pelvis and draw the left hip back. Rotate your right outer hip forward, seeing that your left knee is pointing at your left wall, not towards the front. Notice if it's helpful to place a prop under your left glute. Then relax your right toes, place the hands in front of your left shin. If your left shin is parallel to the front of the mat, flex the left foot too. Lift your chest, breathe in and stretch the front body, front of your torso, and then start to lower slowly. Moving towards the same variation of the posture you practiced on the first side to invite balance in your body. Although, listening to how your body on this side is asking you how deep to go. Really tune into the sensations, remembering there might be some discomfort, but we're not looking for pain. If pain, back off, go a little less. To thread the needle, twist your single pigeon pose on the first side, then flare the left elbow up, spread the right arm underneath the left bent elbow, the right palm face up, and lower the right side of your head all the way down on the ground or on a prop. And make any last little adjustments so you can consciously tune into the breath and relax the whole body here for 3 minutes. Sense the quality of your breathing here. Now if you're on your back, stay on your back for cow face pose. Otherwise, begin to lift your torso upright, your right leg in front, and cross the left thigh over your right thigh. Gomukhasana, with the arms in Garudasana or eagle. So if this throws you off to have both knees bent, straighten the bottom leg, flex the foot. Remember, you could also prop your pelvis up on a prop. Then bend your elbows apart and cross the right elbow over the left. Hook your thumbs or wrap your forearms and palms. Draw your shoulder blades down and lift up through the back of your skull. Take your time hinging forward from your hips for 10 slow breaths. Press down to your hips, breathe in, slowly rise up. You're lying on your back. Take a moment to hug your knees into your chest with the legs uncrossed, maybe rock a little in different directions. Otherwise, I invite you to sit up already and extend the legs forward. Move anything that needs to move or be still for a few breaths of just observing your body. I'm going to invite you into a little more hip opening and take your choice of the first one. Also helps to open up the lower back. So if some of you are wanting more focus on the lower back, that is bound angle pose, where you bring the soles of your feet together and bend the knees apart. Again, you can elevate your pelvis on something if that helps you to lengthen the spine more easily. And then for this one, you can play with, as you keep your feet connected, the heels really close to your groins or really far from your groins or somewhere in between. So shift it around and notice where your body is asking you, right here, this is where I want to be. And then you can set up a block or two to lean forward and rest your forehead on, a whole pillow, as many props. The other posture I invite you to, those of you that want to go deeper into the inner thighs, is frog pose, in which you'll want to cushion the inner knees. You can fold the mat thicker for one knee, like this, making two islands. So one island is the mat and the other island is your blanket. And having the blanket as an option as the other island gives you the ability to slide the knees wider apart if your body's willing to go deeper in the pose. So start with each knee stepping on top of each island and your thighs turning out. So external rotation and abduction, where your knees are bent at right angles, 90 degrees, like an L. And making sure your knees and your middle toe under the knee are both pointing out in the same direction. And then have your pelvis neither forward or behind your knees, but in line with your knees. And then you can lower your hands onto the floor or blocks or pillow. You can lower onto your forearms, slightly engage the lower belly. So choose which of those hip openers you'll be in for the next, watch, no, it's far away, 2 minutes. And again. Feel your body breathe, and by regulating your breath to calm, balance, sustained qualities, invite your body to receive the posture rather than resist. sense your jaw, knowing that the different parts of the body, even far away from each other, are very connected. Consciously relax your jaw and tongue and notice the effect on the pelvis. Last few cycles of breath here. If you are in frog pose, start to slide the knees a little closer together until they're a little wider than hips distance apart, and draw your feet to touch. Sink your hips to your heels, entering child's pose with the legs wide. If you're in bound angle pose, gently lift your torso upright and maybe stretch the legs forward for a few breaths. Observe, what's your body saying to you right now? Do you feel anything shifting to your felt sense or energetically? And then take your time slowly rising from child's pose if that's where you were. And let's make our way to sit with the legs in front or a seated spinal twist. Extending your left leg forward, step your right foot on the ground, either in front of your right hip or crossed outside of your left knee. You might also bend the left knee. Look to sit tall with the pelvis grounded. Place the right hand behind your pelvis, raise your left arm up. Lift through the spine as you breathe in. Keep the pelvis still and really find the twist happening right under the rib cage. As you turn to the right, lower the left arm. Hold your right leg. Or if you can keep the shoulders relaxed and hook the elbow, you can add that. 10 breaths here. As you breathe out, unwind your spine, stretch the legs out for a moment. And if you can, set up the same way on side two. Step the left foot in front of your left hip or crossed outside of your right knee. Maybe also bend your right knee. Place the left hand behind your pelvis, raise your right arm, sit tall and breathe in. Keep the pelvis still, twist at your waistline to the left as you breathe out. Lower your right arm to hold the left leg, or hook the elbow. Shoulders relax, 10 breaths. As you exhale, unwind your spine and straighten the legs in front of you. Let's prepare for Paschimottanasana, seated forward fold. Root your sitting bones, flex your feet. You might choose to place a strap around the balls of your feet like this as an extension of your arms, or to walk your hands down your legs and eventually clasp your big toes with your peace fingers. Choose the option that allows you to keep the spine long, not rounded, shoulders relaxed. So breathe in, press the pelvis down, lift your spine from your hips. Breathe out, Keep the throat open and hinge forward from your hips, little by little, each breath. About 10 breaths. Right where you are, breathe in and lift the chest a little bit. Come up a little bit. Roll the shoulders back. Then continue to fold with that slight lift in the chest, firming the belly in. Pressing down through your hips, breathe in to slowly rise. All right, let's practice some pranayama before we enter Shavasana and our meditations. Just gonna change the playlist. So you could sit in Sukhasana, which means easy pose, some comfortable way of crossing your legs, or you could come into lotus pose. Since we did quite a bit to warm up the hips, you might be open to lotus. Lotus is where you making sure that your knees are safe, that you're rotating from the hip sockets, not laterally from the knees. We place one ankle, doesn't matter which, across the opposite hip. And you take the opposite leg and place that ankle over the first leg onto the opposite hip crease. Not forcing it, but really rotating from the hip sockets. This is the traditional meditation posture in yoga. But as you know, you can meditate in any pose just as long as you can relax and be alert. So the pranayama I invite you into is 3-part breathing, which is calming for the nervous system, as well as cooling as we're exhaling longer than we inhale. And it helps us get into our bodies and out of the minds of the rumination in the mind. So embodying presence. Imagine that your torso is a jar. The bottom of the jar is your pelvic floor and the top of the jar is the top of your neck. Visualize dividing that jar into 3 cross sections. The bottom or the first cross section is from your pelvic floor up to your belly button, all the way around. The second or the middle cross section encompasses most of your rib cage. The third or the top cross section is your chest, upper back, shoulders, and neck. Now we're going to divide an inhalation into those 3 parts. First, we'll inhale 1/3 into the lowest cross section and pause. Then we'll inhale another 1/3 into the midsection and pause. Then we'll inhale the last 1/3 all the way up to the top of the neck and hold the breath while relaxing the body. Then through the nose, we'll slowly empty all of the breath and hold it out for a few seconds. That's 1 cycle. Let's practice 3 cycles together of Durga Pranayama, 3-part breathing, and then continue 2 cycles on your own. So sit in a way that is restful and helps you to be alert. You might place one hand on the top cross section at your chest and the opposite hand below the belly button, just to help feel the top and bottom parts. Maybe close the eyes. Prepare to start by emptying this breath. Into the lowest cross section, inhale 1/3. Pause. To the middle, inhale 1/3. Pause. Into the top, inhale 1/3. Hold the breath, relax. Through the nose, exhale slowly. Hold the breath out. Second cycle, inhale the first 1/3. Pause. Inhale middle. Pause. Inhale top. Hold. Exhale through the nose. Hold. Last one together. Inhale the first. Pause. Inhale the middle. Pause. Inhale the top. Hold. Exhale slowly. Hold it out. Continue 2 more on your own. Take your time, finish at your pace. When you do finish, let go of controlling your breath. Spend a few moments observing anything that you feel as you breathe naturally. As you're ready, please lower your body all the way to the ground. Find a comfortable position. You can lie down and rest in stillness for a few minutes of corpse pose, Shavasana. Closing the eyes, consciously relaxing your whole body as you relax control of the breath. Sense your body now. Notice how you're feeling physically. Little by little, start to move and stretch. With your eyes still closed, gradually turn over onto your right side and rest your head there for a few moments. Notice the quality of the breath now. Sense your energy. And take your time lifting your body up. Please find a comfortable way to sit for about 10 minutes of guided meditation. So I began our practice talking about Michael Beckwith's definition of worry as emotionally praying for what you don't want. And one of the benefits of meditation is stepping outside our habitual patterns of thought. Once we know what those habitual patterns are from having meditated and seen them, and we can go a step further than stepping outside of the patterns. We can create new pathways. This is neuroplasticity. Create new pathways, reframe our perspective, and shift our own reality, day-to-day lives. This is a practice, not just a one-time thing. So I invite you today in a meditation of visualization in which choose a worry that you commonly have, and we'll imagine the best case scenario instead of dwelling on the worst case scenario. Sit in a way that you're comfortable, alert. You might gently rest a hand on your heart center, or bring the thumb and first fingers to touch. Whatever mudra speaks to you today. Close your eyes or steady a soft gaze, downcast. Begin by feeling the ground or the surface below your body that is supporting your body. Allow your body to press into that support and feel a rebounding lift up your spine. As the breath flows naturally, sense the way it comes and goes without you needing to exert effort to breathe. Feel the ways that you are continuously being supported, ways that you can see with your physical eyes, and ways that you can sense through your inner wisdom. We can also call on our minds as a support, befriending our minds as a powerful tool of creation. I invite you to allow a few moments to shift through any repeating thoughts of worry, patterns that you hold. What do you commonly worry about? Choose one of those worries to work with today that's not too extreme or intense. Maybe medium intensity. Now, let's start to flip the script. Knowing what you commonly worry about, what would be the best thing to happen instead of what you're worrying about? It's the opposite end of that spectrum. Bring the effort into your imagination. Visualize what it would look like, the best case scenario. Really take the time to visualize details. Call upon your different senses to experience it. What is the setting or the environment? How is that supporting your well-being? Is there anyone else there? What are the interactions like? Can you hear what's being said? Notice how it feels in your physical body to experience this best case scenario. And I invite you to continue visualizing and interacting through your senses for the next 2 minutes of silence. What are you feeling in your body right now? Notice any sensations. Notice something more subtle energetically through your felt sense. And instead of describing them with words in your mind, allow yourself to be in the aliveness of these visceral feelings. You might remember a quote by Mark Twain. I've spent a lot of my life experiencing pain and suffering, most of which has never happened. Our minds can be our adversaries, our worst enemies, or our minds can be our best friends, empowering us in what we choose to create. Now, what if you spent each day, just a few minutes a day, visualizing this best case scenario? What would shift in your life? What would shift in how you feel each day? Maybe it's a challenge you want to take up. Notice how you're feeling now, mentally and emotionally. Call to mind something you appreciate right now. Include yourself and your efforts in this practice. And remind yourself of what your intention was. And how can you be watchful of worry when it arises? Really remember that your mind can be your friend. Remember to whom you dedicated today's practice. Now let's close together, chanting 3 ohms. Bowing in, recognize the light, the support within you. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste.